Hey leaders, I just wanted to bring some clarity to the Q&A that was mentioned in last week's email because a couple of you guys were wondering how that would work. And so I had shared in there, that when we talk about dating, when we talk about God's design for marriage, that can often bring up questions from students, especially about some of the harder topics like, well, what about gay marriage? And what does God say about, if two women are dating, or what does that look like? And when it comes to this series, dating is a very expansive topic, right? And so there's only so much we could talk about in 3 weeks. So there's a couple things to keep in mind. One, when you get a question, no matter the question, whether it's, a hot topic like that or just something a lot more innocent and on point, you have to ask, is this in line with what we're talking about this week? And in case you missed it, the 3 topics for this series are going to be when to date is this week's topic, which you'll see from the notes. Next week, we're going to go into who to date, looking at godly men and godly women. And then week 3 is going to be how to date, dating well, dating with godly intentions. And then we're also going to cover breakups as well. So when a student has a question, that's kind of the lens first to look through it of, okay, is it related to when? Is it related to who? Or is it related to what? And then which week are we on? Because you may be able to say, hey, that's a really great question. Let's write it down, but we're going to actually talk about that next week. And so let's save it for next week's discussion. The other thing is maybe it's, on the topic of dating, but it's not related to where we're at and it's not related to where we're going. That's why we're thinking about doing a Q&A. Can we group together these off-topic questions and see if they're worth taking a 4th week to maybe kind of hit quickly, right? Like, we're not going to do a sermon, but hey, this question came up. Do we need to address it? Because a lot of students are wondering. And so that's really the goal and the purpose about the Q&A and, vetting those questions. And now you may be wondering, like, well, Shelby, you encourage us to answer questions, right? And absolutely. But what can happen is sometimes when we get a question, it completely takes away from where we're trying to go that week, right? And so that's what we want to try to do is filter of, is this going to be beneficial to the conversation, or is it actually going to take away and we're going to miss out going into the things that we should be talking about? So hopefully that brings some clarity. The other thing too is maybe it's a question that you don't really know the answer to and you're like, nope, I'm going to need some time. Let me get back to you. And so you'll see in the small group questions, we had a place for you to ask them questions specifically if none have come up. And then encourage you guys to write them down either through sticky notes or note cards, or maybe have your recap sheet handy. So you could be recording those. And like I said, we can see, are there some common themes that we want to go through? And reality is there just may be some questions we won't get to, but then you can address that individual by themselves afterwards. I think the last thought that I have is, sometimes students are, we're talking about dating. Well, tell me how to live my dating life. Not appropriate for group conversation. Let's not have a conversation hog and pick apart someone's relationship or dating experiences at the detriment of the group. And so be like, hey, that's a great question. Let me catch you afterwards and we can talk about that. So if you guys have questions about this or looking for more clarity, please reach out, send me a text. Would be happy to talk about it. We'll hit it a little bit more in Huddle this week. But just in case, I just wanted to hopefully ease your minds. And like I said, just bring clarity to what we're intending to do this month with the series. So thank you guys. We'll see you guys Wednesday.